Hello and welcome to the newest and most exciting podcast on the block, Boxmedia Talk, brought to you by Boxmedia TV, the one and only platform that brings together boxing news, entertainment, features and education, all packaged concisely and nicely as a gift from us to you. This is Box Media Talks, brought to you by Box Media TV. Looking at yesterday's Crolla versus Linares fight and some of the exciting matchups we have coming our way, such as Kovalev Ward, Dillian Whyte against Ian Lewison, and even the now cancelled Klitschko versus Fury rematch. Today we're going to discuss the often used statement, styles make fights. Now, hold on. When I'm saying that, I don't just mean the technical difference that fighters such as the pressure fighting Liam Smith against the powerful counter-punching Canelo, not just the technical aspect. I mean the whole life cycle of a fight styles. I mean from when a fight's announced, negotiating style, to press conference style, to interview style, to then finally when they step into the squared circle and they adopt different technical approaches to the fight. I'm Fighting Ed. In the opposite corner we have Adrian Greenland. As per usual, joined by our specialist panel, Terry, Dirt Dog Chapandama, Junior, The Rose Johnson. Fellas, first of all, Crolla Linares, what do we think? What were the styles we had to compare there? Junior.
I think when you're talking about styles, I think Linares was very much a counter boxer. He was very sharp and very quick with his lateral movement, or quick on his feet. He showed greater hand speed and experience, a lot more ring generalship than Crolla. Crolla tried to come forward and put pressure on Linares, knowing that he hadn't fought in over a year. So he was trying to set a high pace, but he was countered a lot. Linares set a lot of beautiful traps as well, especially when Crolla tried to jab to the body. I think in the first 4 rounds, he tried that jab to the body a lot, and Linares set a trap for him with the overhand right and a fast, furious combo. And I think he stopped after the 4th round. He stopped jabbing to the body.
Was it Junior? Was it disappointing? We were sold this the ferocious, slick Rolls Royce Linares against the workmanlike, body punching Crolla, the two beautiful styles. Were we disappointed by the matchup of the styles in the actual fight?
Not at all. I thought it was quite an entertaining fight, actually. I don't think it was as close as some of the pundits thought it was. I had Linares winning by 4 or 5 rounds. I thought he'd done this. He'd done the more eye-catching work. Basically, his combinations were sharper. His punches were more accurate. I just found him much more his style to be more elusive and more appealing on the eye. Really, I thought Crolla did well. I do think he did well, especially in the latter parts of the fight where Linares obviously tired due to his ring activity.
Junior, did he do well, or did Linares take the foot off the gas for a few rounds? Did Crolla actually do well throughout the fight?
I think it's a combination of both. I think as the fight wore on, Crolla got more into the fight. He got a bit more self-belief. He was getting a bit more confidence, especially after that nightmare 6th round that he had, where he got hurt with that overhand right. He came out in the 7th and he gave a good account of himself. I think the 7th round was his best round of the fight. And as you said, Linares was obviously tiring as well. So Crolla got a bit of hope in that because that was his strategy.
Junior. So from your point of view, technically, within the squared circle, 2 styles that made a good fight. Terry, prior to before they stepped in the ring, we had 2 styles, 2 characters. The burglar fighting hometown hero versus the humble assassin in Linares. These characters, did it make to a good build-up? A good press conference, a good weigh-in?
Nah, they're what you can almost call tradesmen's boxers. They're people who tick all the boxes, go about their business, unfussy, don't really crave the limelight, aren't natural showmen. So you had a relatively low-key build-up. Look, we're still talking about Brooke Golovkin, so Eddie hasn't managed to drive the needle around promoting this one, because they're not guys who dislike each other. There's a mutual respect. So it's all very friendly. The fireworks happened in the ring. So credit where credit's due, they delivered in the ring. But outside of it, not so much so.
Okay, so let's go to the other extreme in terms of styles outside of the ring. The likes of Dillian Whyte Lewison. Now, I think we can agree, the four of us, those styles make a good press conference. Will they make a good fight?
It's debatable, really. I think the build-up, from the looks of things, will definitely be a bit more entertaining than the actual fight itself. I remember I was down at York Hall a few months back, saw Ian Lewison demolish an Eastern European guy in about 3 rounds. Never in doubt, didn't look in good shape, out of weight. He just looked like he turned up, threw on a tracksuit and turned up and demolished the guy. Dillian Whyte, on the other hand, his last, I think, since the Anthony Joshua bout, potentially disappointing. I'm not sure if you guys would agree. So if you put those two styles together, after a few Peronis, I'm sure the fight will be entertaining, but I'm not sure from a technical, a boxing scholar's perspective, whether those two styles will merge for the hardcore's kind of opinion or ethos on boxing. Maybe for the casual, like I said, in a pub with your friends.
So it's a good point. My views on style, I think stylistically, in terms of mid-range fighting, slipping, rolling, throwing bombs, countering fast and big, I think Ian Lewison's a beautiful boxer. What's interesting is sometimes when you're fighting someone who's technically less competent or slick as you, your natural movement or anticipation of how they'll throw their punches is then thrown off. So because Dillian is so unorthodox and at times cumbersome in his movement, this might not suit the stylistic slipping, weaving and bobbing of Ian Lewison. So it might not make for a good matchup at the mid-range. In terms of styles as well, I think there's a good chance that Dillian will box on the back foot. I think it's pretty much agreed that his mode of winning is going to be by taking a fight to beyond 4 rounds, not engage with Lewison until Lewison is exhausted, which everyone seems to believe is going to be after 4 or 5 rounds. So stylistically, I'm not sure that it will be a great fight once they step in the squared circle, but in terms of characters and styles, I think it's going to be a great promotion, a great build-up.
Ed, just to cut you as well, obviously it's kind of well documented that Dillian Whyte he's under new training. I think it's the Tibbs. He's got the Tibbs guys now.
That's correct.
So Terry, if you look at his last fight, he was utilising the jab a bit more. He was trying to box essentially. He claimed because it was a cruiserweight he had to as well. But do you think the influence of the Tibbses will change his style and make him more of a boxer against maybe Ian Lewison, who will come in as the fighter? What do you think?
So just remember who the Tibbs guys are. We tagged them with saying, yeah, you guys developed Billy Joe Saunders, but Billy Joe Saunders was a fully formed boxer. He's a world champion. Let's look at guys they did develop, like a Nigel Benn. No real finesse, good old East London grit, let's have a fight. Eventually, that's essentially what Dillian is. Dillian's not going to learn the finer points in life. Why? Number one, he hasn't got footwork. So anything you then layer over that falls apart because your feet are in the wrong place.
What's the issue with his footwork, Terry?
He skates. So what you call it skating? When he goes to punch, especially when he throws his backhand, his legs skating literally from left to right, which tells you that it's not planted. So really, he's not throwing with any power.
Yeah, but he's developed his core center of gravity and balance as a fighter comes from a different discipline. It doesn't come from boxing. You can tell that from his stance, the way he bobs, the way he holds his hands. It comes from his kickboxing days, and so his muscle memory in terms of fighting and stance is purely based on that. That's the reason.
But saying that, Adam, do you think that stance could be awkward for some opponents? Could it be awkward for, say, Lewison to kind of figure out? I mean, we saw that with Skelton. He was very awkward. Some heavyweights really had trouble with that kind of style.
I would say that it is sheer physicality that is awkward. I think you have to acknowledge and respect his more advanced conditioning now. And he has an unorthodox style. I agree with you there, Junior. That is difficult to deal with. But that is because it's combined with his sheer physicality.
Who are we talking about here?
Dillian Whyte.
Dillian.
At times, does it make for a good style, a style that makes good fights? I think it used to when he was the body snatcher. I think the Tibbs are turning more into the tickler with popping the jab and fighting off the back foot. So I disagree with you, Terry, in that I think it's the opposite. I think he was more of a rugged, gritty fighter, and that is his, that's really his angle and ways that his strength. I think they're trying to turn him into someone with more finesse, and I don't think that works for him. As you just said, his skating, his natural stance and style, I don't think it works for him. We shall see. But another big fight coming up, and this is one, styles make fights. Kovalev Ward. Thoughts?
Junior, I think we need your input on this one. I know you're a massive Ward fan, so let's hear what you have to say about the stylistic matchup in this one.
Well, it's a classic boxer versus puncher, really, here as well. That's not to underestimate Kovalev's boxing skills, because he is quite an accomplished boxer. He has a very he's got quite a good jab, a snakish jab, and a very good overhand right. But his boxing skills aren't comparable to Ward's. Ward is probably right now the best pure boxer out there, and I predict that Ward will win by about 3 or 4 rounds, unanimous decision. I think you got to look at the keys to victory here for both fighters. Kovalev is a puncher, so he's got to. I don't think he's going to outbox Ward at any point at all. So he's got to go for the knockout. How does he do that? Ward's got speed advantages and accuracy advantages, and he's very he's smoother as well. He's got a good rhythm as well about him. So Kovalev's got to offset that or upset that. How does he do that? Maybe with a jab, using the jab, a bit of feints and stuff. But we saw in his last fight against Chilemba, he struggles with awkward fighters, and they don't come much more awkward than Andre Ward. But saying that, Andre Ward has had the tendency in the past to get caught by shots. We saw him downed by Darnell Boone, who's so he's got to be.
Yeah, Smith caught him with a big one as well that wobbled him.
Sorry?
Smith caught him with a big shot that wobbled him as well, the overhand right.
Exactly. So he's susceptible to big shots unless he concentrates. But I see it being very similar to the Froch fight. Froch and Ward fight. I think he's going to smother him a lot of dirty boxing, a lot of good timing as well with his shots. He's going to use his timing more in this fight. I do see it not being as entertaining as maybe for the general public. I don't think it being an entertaining fight for the boxing fans and the boxing experts and stuff. And analysts, I think it'll be a better fight because we'll look towards technique and stuff and understand it a bit more and appreciate what he's doing. But I don't think it's going to be a slugfest or anything like that.
Terry, I tend to agree with you there, Junior. Terry, my thoughts are that the fight itself will be boring until about round 5 when Kovalev's a long-range boxer, but Ward will probably dominate him technically. Kovalev round 5-6 is going to realise he has to gamble and go for broke, leave himself open. And Ward, I'll put it out there now. Ward may well win by KO because Kovalev's going to have to take risks when he realises his efforts are not very fruitful. But in terms of entertaining styles that make a good fight, that's on the night. It could be one-sided, it could be boring, there might be risk taken. But styles of characters, do these guys have characters? I mean, Terry, the build-up. Are you excited? You excited about the press conference? The weigh-in?
Nope. Simple.
That's simple.
And they don't draw money. There's the reason why I'm not that excited. The fight doesn't really excite me. This is one of these, I call them, box rec wankers. They get excited about fights like this. This isn't really a fight for the ages. You have someone in Kovalev who's your classic Eastern European. And there's a myth that Kovalev can't box because, mate, everyone out of the Russian system can box. Their training, while not the slick American moving around style, is amazingly effective as a boxing system because they strip it all down and they just say, look, we'll use less tools, less variables, and just make sure we're 100% on all of them. So when you see Kovalev throwing those straight punches, you'd give them all at least an 8.5 out of 10. He's good at that. Can he?
Just ask Bernard Hopkins.
Can he throw hooks and uppercuts? Of course he can. Look, I always say this in boxing: the long shots are the hardest to teach. If you can throw long shots, rest assured you can throw uppercuts. It's just about whether Ward can nick the rounds while avoiding that right hand.
But Terry, isn't it intriguing? You've got like the puncher and the boxer. give it maybe 4 rounds. They both kind of
You have
suss
two
each other
boxers.
out, fatigue.
You have two boxers. Let's give Kovalev his respect. You've got one boxer with a little bit more power, one with a little bit more nous, if that makes sense.
So you've got two boxers. After, as we stated about the 4th round, fatigue, not genuine fatigue, but sussing each other out. Why would that not be an intriguing fight? You've got two athletes at the top of the game within the division. How could that not be an interesting fight and exciting for the fan?
The tools Kovalev brings will either decimate Ward or be completely ineffective. It's not a matter of degrees, it's binary. So what you want to see with Ward is someone who can do what he can do, if that makes sense. You'd want a younger Hopkins in there with Ward because you want someone who's going to test him. So whenever Ward tries a little clever trick, the other guy's looking, go, I'm not letting you do that.
So what you say? Let's be clear. Let's put it out there. Spoiling, right? Spoiling. You want someone?
No, not necessarily, because there's stuff that Ward will do. You know, the little slips, the switch.
You're talking about the 30-degree movements to the side when he's inside, the little uppercuts, the twist the arm, throw the double jab on the way out.
Actually, not even that. It's this. I'm trying to think of a way of putting it. There's an all-round old schoolness to what Ward brings, in terms of judgment, in terms of when he knows how to slip, when he knows how to block. And it confuses people because he uses a lot of elements from what you can almost call the Texas school of boxing from the late 50s, early 60s. You know, it's not like the classic Philly shell slipping and rolling. It's more you just slip and slide, nice and basic. But because no one else does that, Ward looks really amazing. But when you get someone who has those old school tendencies, like a Gabe Rosado, a bigger version of a Gabe Rosado with a bit of a right hand, you'd like to see that against Ward because Ward would have to think a bit more.
But wouldn't that be a less entertaining fight per se then?
No. Well, don't you want to see Ward at his limit though? I want to see Ward, in a way that we never saw Mayweather. We never saw Mayweather going, oh shit, what am I going to do now? And that's what makes for great fights. So if you look at even stuff like Gatti Ward, it was a messy fight, but Gatti Ward was lovely because you had two guys who were just taking each other to the limit, and they just had to find something else.
Let's give one day we'll have a podcast where you don't mention Gatti Ward, Terry. One day we will. One day we'll have one where you give Mayweather just juice. Zab Judah, did Mayweather have to say OSHIT? Let me pick it up. Let me be.
No, because Mayweather said, all right, I'm going to let him step outside me and I'll throw a left hook. And then Zab Judah was like, everything I've been taught about being a southpaw is falling apart here. The fight's over.
All right. So, look, guys, these, as per always, our conversations, they get going and time flies. What I want to go round, right? I want to go around the table. I want to talk about your desires for a fight you'd like to see. You get two choices. First of all, the best stylistic matchup in terms of the build-up. Secondly, the best stylistic matchup in terms of when our two pugilists step inside that squared circle. Any weight division, as long as it's a fight that could actually potentially happen. And modern era fighters that this fight could be made. Adrian, hit me.
Stylistic in terms of the build-up, I'm going to be so controversial, but I don't care. I'm going to go for Deontay Wilder against Big Baby Miller. The Big Baby. Baby's been making a lot of noise recently. I think he's great for the heavyweight division.
Adrian, you're cheating. You heard the radio show, man.
What? The interview?
Yeah.
I heard it, man. I've seen the clip with Big Baby when he comes up on Stavern as well.
At Shannon Briggs' gym.
Yeah, he's just good for the division. He's good for boxing. The two hate each other, so I'm gonna go for that one. I'm not sure how great the fight will be, but stylistically, before the fans will be encapsulated. It'll be like a Dillian Whyte versus Ian Lewison on steroids, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, sounds it. I'm excited already.
And what was the other one? Just remind me.
When our pugilists step inside that squared circle, the actual, the fight you like to see, minus the build up, the technical matchup.
I'm probably going to take a few of you guys' answers. It's one that's burning on the list for most boxing fans right now. It's got to be GGG, Canelo Alvarez.
Absolutely.
I don't think either guy. Canelo's obviously he doesn't speak great English or American, etc. Golovkin, he communicates on a basic level. So I guess for the US fan or the global fan, it might not be maybe the most entertaining build up. I'm sure you'll agree that, but we know that in the squared circle, it will be a bloodbath. Something will go down. So, and it's both guys can box as well. That's the beautiful thing about that fight. It's not just two sluggers, old school, having a tear up. It's actually two guys who have power with technique, the body shots which they both possess, obviously concussive power which they both possess. So
Definitely.
I don't think
I don't think many people disagree with you in wanting to see that stylistic matchup. Junior, your choices.
The first one for stylistically in the press conferences, and you're all gonna love this one, is DeGale and Eubank Jr. Can you imagine Eubank Senior and DeGale going at it at a press conference? Can you imagine it? I forgot. How could I forget? I want to see that. The fight itself would be great, but the press conference, oh my days. Can you believe it?
You could sell tickets £20 a pop for that press conference, couldn't you?
Exactly.
They're filling the arena.
Exactly. And the groundwork for that is already done. We've got the sparring session that Eubank Jr. and Senior have all been talking about, and it's upset DeGale. It's been going on for years, and they've been taking little jabs at DeGale at recent press conferences as well and recent interviews as well. So that's something that could and perhaps should happen in the not too distant future. In terms of the mega fight that I'd like to see in terms of styles and stuff, presuming both are successful in their mega fights that will come up, like Canelo and Triple G. If Triple G is victorious in that fight, I'd like to see him step up against the winner of Ward and Kovalev. Maybe at catch weight, maybe 170 or something like that. I'd like to see. Hopefully, it'd be Ward and Triple G. I'd like to see that. That's when we really know that would be the best pound for pound. You've got like Triple G, who is a phenomenal boxer as well as a puncher. He can box, but he will be tested in the fight against Ward. Ward will nullify him. It's intriguing. It's very intriguing.
Very, very interesting choice.
So that's the one for me.
Very interesting choice. I agree with you now, and I think that would be a very interesting stylistic matchup. I tend to think that GGG might be betrayed by his size. He's not actually a huge middleweight, but his punching power is huge. It would be very interesting. To be honest, I really that's a very good choice.
I think as well, Triple G has put himself under pressure now. With fighting Kell Brook, he's put himself under pressure to go and take that step and that leap up. Because if somebody has done it to him now, he has to be great and do it himself and try and do it. And lots of the boxing greats are saying that. Why isn't he stepping up?
Terry, come on. And it can't, and I don't want to hear Gatti, all right? I don't want to hear Sugar Ray Robinson.
Or Duran.
Well, Ami Mansour versus Shannon Briggs for a build-up.
Mansour against Briggs for the build-up.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a sort of best from Brixton, Dillian Whyte, Ian Lewison situation. What's that, best from Brooklyn or something along those lines?
Nah, it's two guys who, when it comes down to it, can trade, can punch, can take shots. They're tough men. They're hard men. We know what Mansour's story is. We know what Briggs' story is. They're hard men, and they both can talk trash better than anyone. I mean, they talk it and they back it up. Stylistically, Tevin Farmer against Lomachenko.
Interesting. Tevin Farmer. What's your take on him, Terry?
So everyone says Tevin Farmer's got losses on his record, and I forgive people losses early in their career. But if you look at his run recently, there's a reason Eddie Hearn kept Stephen Smith away from Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer, southpaw, he looks the part. Has he been properly tested yet? No, but no one wants to fight him. He's avoided. The fight against Lomachenko, it's two technicians. It's two defensive, no, I won't say wizards, but two defensive, sharks in there with each other working. Both can work inside, can work outside.
And they will work for 12 rounds. That would be a very good matchup.
And that fight might happen. I know they're talking about Walters. after Ward Kovalev. I think it's the weekend after Ward Kovalev. But
Yeah. It's been confirmed, yeah?
Really? Ooh,
Wicked.
hatchet
So-
man. Very
so I'll be
good.
excited, man. If we start to talk about Farmer in that kind of 130 category, you got, if Lomachenko doesn't happen, you got Walters, Frampton can come up. You know, maybe he can go to 135, have a fight with Gravonte Davis. That would be entertaining as well.
Guys, I'm not going to sit on the fence this week. I want to let you know. The most entertaining stylistic matchup for me prior to the fight, press conference build-up, it has to be our very own Kell Brook Amir Khan. We've had snippets in build-ups, in interviews, in conversations, arguments, and I would love to see the full build-up. I would absolutely love to see that. I think it would be hilarious. I think it would be exciting, and I would pay, and I think a lot of the public would be willing to pay for a ticket to view that.
Are you willing to do the Kell Brook impression, Adam, or are you going to leave that till next week, or when it happens, if it happens?
Due to the bravery of his performance against Golovkin, I don't think it's right to do the impression just yet.
But,
However,
but you know, Ed's upset because he couldn't say DeGale Groves too. You know that, right? Because Junior took the thunder, and Ed's got it
Are you
written down.
back, Junior? Do you know what? One fight that's an honourable mention as well is Lomachenko Rigondeaux. That would be that was muted a couple years ago. That would be a real.
I think
good
the
technical fight.
pre-match would be muted as well, Junior. To be honest with you.
Yeah, but we're talking about the styles, the boxing style. Not talking about that was for the style.
the
more than
technicals.
pre-match.
yeah, I think Rigondeaux is similar to Mayweather in that, you know, in theory it sounds good, but then he has a way of nullifying fighters and making it all look very simple. But moving on to my choice for the stylistic matchup. You know, and also the build-up to this one will be very exciting as well. But stylistically, in the ring, I would love to see our very own O'Hara Davis against Conor Benn. Both have good up-and-coming and emerging talents as boxers, but to me, both also have fairly significant flaws. And it would be a very exciting matchup.
Interesting one, Adam. Interesting one. I think do you agree or not? Is O'Hara Davis ahead of Conor Benn technically in his career as we stand?
I think Conor Benn has been put on the accelerated development path, but I still think that O'Hara Davis has fought by far the better opponents. So he is ahead at the moment, but may not be for long. And I don't think it's Eddie Hearn's plan for O'Hara to be ahead for much longer. When O'Hara first emerged, if people remember, you know, and this is why it's good to pay attention, Eddie Hearn was trying to promote him and market him as the new Nigel Benn. And then Nigel Benn's very own son came over from Australia. And O'Hara has since been left to fight for free at York Hall and is scrabbling around to get an undercard, whereas Conor Benn is a certified shoo-in for any big event. So, you know, pay attention.
Terry, is Conor Benn having his amateur career now in the O2 Arena and in Glasgow in front of 50,000 people?
Conor Benn, number one, is a great kid, nice guy, warm heart. We're watching a guy grow up boxing-wise in front of us. When people complain about him being on TV, I'm like, you're watching someone grow. We don't know where this is going to go. He doesn't know where this is going to go. And you've got to enjoy the journey because it will show you the pitfalls. Because, you know, you think genetically it's in him, but he didn't have the struggles his dad had. So this is a guy like Chris Eubank Jr. who's come from not relative, but absolute privilege. And can he dig in the trenches? Because he has alternatives. Can he dig in the trenches against someone like an O'Hara Davis who hasn't got anything outside of boxing? You know, I think there's a lot Conor has to learn. I don't think it's not really his amateur career, because I think in the amateurs, it's a different risk profile. You can take a few risks in the amateurs. The losses don't mean so much. In the pros, it's an as Edom said, it's whoever Edom is, edit that out. It's like fighting, Ed said. When, you know, it's an accelerated development program, because if he loses, the consequences are a lot greater than if you lose in the amateurs. So he's carrying a lot more pressure than he would if he was fighting in the Camden Centre for the Lynn or Repton in front of 300 or 400 people.
Guys, this once again, excellent insight, intriguing discussion. You know, we could probably keep going until next week's podcast, but let food for thought, to say the very least. Look, this is Box Media Talks, brought to you by Box Media TV. And styles do make fights. Until next week, keep your guard up.